you have to really prepare for the HR interview and again, you have to prepare for the audience, right? How do you convince HR? It's not so much about going into technical details, but communicating what technical skills you have in a good way, which is easy for the recruiter to understand and to connect with their opening.
Welcome everybody today to another interview with a very nice data analyst from Bangalore, India. Welcome Stuti today.
Hi Tamo, thank you so much. Really nice to see you again.
Yeah, it's been a while. We haven't seen each other for around about 6 months now, and now you're in Germany. And when we met, you were still working in India. I think we met first in September last year, and it took you only like 2 months to get a job offer, and
6 weeks.
6 weeks exactly. And then you moved here in January, and you started working 1st of February, I guess. And now you're here almost more than 6 months, and you live in Western Germany. How is it to be in Germany, first of all?
Well, it's everything I thought it would be and more. I mean, first of all, this is the first time I'm living outside India, so everything is new. Like when I came, it was also winter, so even the weather seemed very, very different. But I wanted to experience living in Germany, experience like the culture, work life, like the work culture, and just like general life. So it's been really nice so far.
Cool. So no regrets so far.
No regrets.
Perfect. Okay. Maybe let's start chronologically. I said we met last year in September. Firstly, I would be interested, why did you decide that moving to Europe, to Germany, is a good idea for you, for your career? I mean, you've been working for a very big multinational company in India. You have a great career here. You have around 5 years of experience. Why did you move here? Why did you say, I want to come here?
The first part is, as you said, I had almost 5 years of experience. I had already started working in my final year in college in the company, in the multinational in India. And then somewhere like in the middle of 2022, I thought, okay, by the end of this year, I will have like 5 years of full-time experience almost, like including my internships. So now is the time for me to really take the next step in my career. That was very clear to me. And I was really happy with my previous job, but there comes a time where you realize that I've hit a ceiling and now it's time to really take on a bigger challenge, right? And also because of the COVID years, I felt like it's time to, get move to my post-COVID life, new job. And then after that, I started researching. So what do I want my next job to be? And I was an data analyst in a certain domain. And I felt like I really would like to experience a completely different domain. So I'm in a electronics communications company. I studied electronics and communications in college, slowly found my way to data analytics through that company. And I felt like data analytics is what I want to do. So I want to be a data analyst in a completely different domain. And I thought it's time to get a new job. So that was one. The second thing was I wanted to experience a different work culture. So I'm working in a global MNC based in India, and I thought I would like to work. My company was based out of America, so US culture based in India, right? So maybe work for a different, like in a different type of organization instead of global MNC, work for a smaller company. So that's rule number 2, and then not rule number 2, but that was my second thought. And then why Germany, right? So I did my research. So where do I want to go next, right? So I thought in addition to variation in terms of domain and the size of the company, I would also like to be in a different place, right? Not back to Bangalore, or I want to experience something different. So I researched and I picked Germany because of multiple reasons. First and foremost, like I really like the immigration process. I think for me, even when I didn't have the job or I hadn't started applying, just from my research, it was very clear to me that there's a very straightforward process. You prepare, then you apply for jobs. Once you get a job, once you have an employment contract, similar to the offer letter in India, then it's just a matter of applying for the visa, and you will have the visa in 1 to 2 months. You can easily move. Within 5-6 months, you will get your residence permit. Within 1 or 2 years, you get your PR. So it's a very straightforward, predictable process, which I really value. And second, so that was one big reason. And along the same lines, I really like the work-life balance culture. That's another thing, right? If you want peaceful life, then that's another thing that I really like, that I want to be in a place where there's a culture of like holidays, vacation, work-life balance, but still also very ambitious. So I thought if I'm working in a very well-performing German startup or scale-up type of company, then it will be the right balance of like the drive and fast-paced environment that I want, plus also work-life balance and just enjoy travel in Europe and stuff like that. So I thought, and yeah, on a personal side, I love traveling. I always wanted to travel across Europe, so I thought working in Germany is the best way. Like, be surrounded with job opportunities and get lots of like holidays to travel. So and see Europe. So yeah.
Awesome. And what did you do next then? Maybe before you met us, what were your first steps like approaching jobs?
So first of all, I was aware about LinkedIn. So I started looking up on LinkedIn. You can select the filter. You can put the location filter. So I'll just write, analyst and put just the European region, and started finding jobs. I did a little bit of research, saw what kind of jobs are there, what's the job description, right? And I worked on my resume. I must have worked for like 1 or 2 weeks, and this is in mid-July. And then I started applying. So I'm doing this in July, right? So June and July starting, I'm working on my resume, and then I started applying in July. And I used to apply every day for 10-15 positions that I'll find on LinkedIn. So after 3 weeks of this, like in July, second, third, fourth week of July, I must have applied over like 200 places, like 21 days, 10 applications every day, to do the math, right? And out of these, I got only one call. And then once I got the call, I got in full preparation where I like, okay, finally 3 weeks and the call is here. So then I started, after I got the first call, I started Googling what is the interview like in Germany, because before that, I was just focused on applying and getting a call in the first place. So that's where like that's kind of how I found you guys. I'm still preparing for my interview. I found a YouTube video, which is just a little bit about tips about what the interview is like in Germany, just like a 10 minutes video and introduction. And I think they mentioned that you guys have an expertise in helping people prepare for interviews or learn more about like what the interview process is like in Germany. So now we are in August first week. So that's when I did your that's when I got to your website and I did the first steps, which was to send your resume and have the first call. So that's when I had met Yog, and then we had a short, like the 10-minute call, and he told me a little bit about your process, and then he led me also to the big video that you guys have on your website, which explains your process in detail. So I did a little bit of that. But at that time, I decided not to sign up because I had to focus on the one interview call that I got. So I focused on that, and I tried to do the interview, and I went to the last stage. So all of August, that one company, their process lasted all of August. And I went till the last round. So it was me and another guy. And then early September, they told me that they decided to go with the other guy. So unfortunately, that didn't happen, but it gave me a lot of confidence that I can clear the interview. But it also taught me important lesson that where I'm lacking is getting interview calls in the first place. So I am ready technically, my technical knowledge is there, the soft skill development is there, but how do I present myself properly enough to get enough job opportunity, like job interview calls in the first place? So I thought if I have many interview calls, there's a high chance that I will get at least one offer, and one offer is all you need, right? So I thought that your program is exactly what I need to, because that's where I'm lacking, right? To bridge that gap and actually connect to employers and then start getting interview calls in the first place. So I think that's one of the reasons. And then September I decided to sign up, and then that's when we met. And so I think my process with you guys was that we worked on the resume for the rest of September, and then we started applying from October, and then or last week of September we started applying, and 8th November I got my offer. So within 6 weeks sorry to give a very detailed timeline, but that's how the process worked for me.
No, that was perfect. So the first thing we did when you signed up, we completely revamped your resume, your CV. And this is usually key to get more calls, because usually if you're from India, you're used to the Indian CV design and so on, and that is not usually not converting too good in the European market. So that's the very first thing. And then we showed you how to apply right, how to find good opportunities in Germany. And then you got a good lot of interview calls then, I think, which quite quickly. You got like 5 or 6 calls. And then you did very well at the interviews, obviously, and you got an offer. Maybe you could explain from your point of view, what is the biggest difference for if you look at the interview process, if you compare it to India? So what are the challenges and what is the process in Germany like?
Yeah. So like you mentioned the resume. So I would just comment that like you helped me a lot in revamping my resume. And then once I have my good resume that I made with you guys, I feel like if someone does that work, then that resume will help them anywhere in any market, because a good resume is a good resume, right? So that's point one. I think that helped me a lot, and that's mainly where I needed the help. Second part is so when I applied with you guys, I got 7 calls for interview. So we applied for 50 companies, I think, and I got 7 interview calls, which I thought was much better than like my previous resume where 1 out of 200, right? Second part is the interview process. So the key difference here is that in India, the interview process is more like a Viva exam almost, versus in Germany, the interview process is more like a meeting. So it's not so much as a one-sided question 1, question 2, and just answer and someone questioning you, but it is much more like a professional meeting in the sense that someone will explain to you what their work is, what the challenge is, why they are bringing the new person, and then try to bridge the gap, like how can you fit in, how can you use your skills to solve the problem that they are wanting to solve, right? And so one example of that, for example, in India, we many times have a live coding round, which is usually a question and then you solve the challenge. So in Germany, what is more common is you will get a case study assignment. So which is almost like a real piece of work, like a business problem, especially from the analytics perspective, like the problem statement, you get data, whether that's an Excel file or usually in Excel files because it's a small data for case study. And then you are expected to work on that problem, either in Excel, SQL, either you can solve it in Excel or you might be asked to write a SQL or Python script, or create some dashboards using Tableau or Power BI or such, or in one like or in any other medium, right? Maybe you are just solving it on Excel and then presenting your solution. So one part is solving it, and then the very key part is, so after you have solved the case study, you submit your results, right? And then if the interviewer likes your results, then there will be the next interview in which you have to present your results. So after you have technically solved the issue, it's very important to create a very succinct presentation, which is very clear to the audience. And then again, your mindset has to be, if you are working in a company and you got a problem from your leadership, you have solved it, now you're presenting your results, how would you explain it in the way that it is easy for the audience to understand, plus you get your right message across? So in my case, like when I will send back my results of the case study, I will usually always make a presentation, put together my results properly. And when I write, like I'm sending them an email, I would say, please refer to this presentation to go through my solution. And I've also attached this Excel file, Python file, Tableau file, XYZ file, right, with the details of the implementation. So I think that really worked. And then it also helped me, like many times, once they like the case study, they will say, okay, can you present it in the next interview, which is after 2 days or something, right? So then I'll work on like even presenting in the sense that I'll practice once, like how will I speak or how will I present in the actual meeting. So that was my process. But I think in India, it's more about if you're giving an interview in India, you will really practice writing your code, because you'll have to do a live coding round, or even if there's not a live coding round, the interviewer will just ask you, what does this function do? What does that function do? What will you write in this situation? And here it's more about application, showing business results. And even in the interview, when the interviewer talks to you, their questions are, they are expecting you to also interview them while they are interviewing you, right? So what that means is you should also have valid questions about, okay, this is what I understand of this role. This is why my skills will match. What more do you think I need to learn to be able to excel in this role, right? Why do you think my skills match this role, or just how can I improve, right? How can I prepare more to join if I get the role, or In my case, in the company that I got the offer, I even asked my interviewer, what should I learn before I go to the next interview? What should I study before the next interview round at your company, right? So that I'm more prepared for a more meaningful conversation. So
and how many rounds would you say is the interview process typical like? What is it structured the rounds?
Yeah. So I had different experiences, but to summarize, the most you can have is 4 to 5 rounds. So the first round is usually always an HR interview. So was also different from India. In India, you usually have an HR interview at the end, and it's more of a formality, a welcome interview. Here, the HR interview is even once you have got the call, the HR does a lot of screening, right? So you have to really prepare for the HR interview and again, you have to prepare for the audience, right? How do you convince HR? It's not so much about going into technical details, but communicating what technical skills you have in a good way, which is easy for the recruiter to understand and to connect with their opening. So that's one main difference. Then if the recruiter likes your profile, then you will have the first interview, which usually has the hiring manager. And there again, it's more like I said, this is why I'm hiring someone in the first place, right? So you have to help them connect technically why you are the person for the job. And then after that, usually if they like you get the case study sent to you through email by the recruiter, and then you have to work on the case study. And after that, usually the third meeting is presenting the case study. And again, it's usually the hiring manager or some other team members might join. So that's usually the third interview. And after that, the final is the culture fit round. So again, here, like in India, like I said, you start with the technical rounds. Once you have cleared all the technical rounds, you are pretty much in. If they have a soft culture fit or HR or something interview, then it's just a welcome formality. Here it is exactly not the case. In the beginning, the HR interview and the culture fit interview in the end, both are rejection rounds. So I actually got rejected at the last round, and like when I applied myself in the, like I said, right, I went to the last round. And so I also know from my experience, like there will always be 2-3 people, even if you feel that I'm now at the end. So even in the culture fit round, it's not a formality. They are really testing you against their culture. They will present you situations like how will you handle this situation. So it's behavioral situational question that we are all used to, but you have to be really succinct in how you answer it. And then at the end, it's also about person-to-person connection, right? So it's not so much, you can't give a rehearsed answer like in a situational question, like how would you handle a stress situation? Oh. So your answer has to be real and convincing, right? It just cannot be a rehearsed answer. So I think that's also something which a lot of people should focus on. How do you actually make the interviewer feel like you will be a good part of their team? It will be a good experience for you and them working together. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's what it's like. And yeah, usually after that, like in my case, I only got the one offer. So after that, the HR sent me an email that I want to give you feedback about the interview process. So yeah, and in the interview, she discussed the offer that we liked it. So we want to give you the offer. Yeah.
Perfect. And then after the offer, what was next? So what did the visa process look like? And then you came here. So how was that?
Yeah. So for me, the process was very straightforward. So I got the offer. Then within 1 week, I got the employment contract, which again is the same thing as what we call offer letter in India. And you will get that through DocuSign. And you have to sign the employment contract. In my case, my company has a partner, Localize. And Localize are like a travel relocation agency. So my company created an account. Anyone who joins from abroad, they create an account with the agency. So then I'm dealing with the agency, not with my HR. Now, in case of agency, they have a full dashboard which tells you in detail like how you have to, all the steps you have to do. And I'm still working with them because I am doing my residence permit process, which I'll come to later. So the first step was that the company, I check their dashboards. They tell me, first of all, how to apply in India. So you have to go to the website, VFS, which is like a third party. You have to apply through their website. It's a third party for all the embassies operating in India. So they tell you how to apply for VFS, what options to select, right? How to book your appointment. Then once you have the appointment, what documents to prepare. So I did all of this and I finally went to my VFS appointment. Now, in case of German visa, you go to VFS, you submit your documents, and that's it. You don't have to actually go to the consulate or the embassy. You just submit your documents at VFS.
You got a blue card, right?
Yeah, the EU blue card, yes. So once you are done with this process, in my case, I got within 2 weeks of applying, I got an appointment, and I selected the appointments 2 weeks later. So I guess mid-November, I got my employment contract. I did the application, and then my appointment was, I think it was for the end of November, or end of November or early December. So, so in the middle of November, I got my employment contract around 15, 16 November, and then first of all, when you apply, they will say we are putting you on a wait list for the appointment. Yeah. And then I got the appointment at the end of November, and the appointment date was, I think, 10th December. And then once you go for the appointment, like your visa will come back within 2-3 days. Yeah. So that is part one, right? First of all, you have to get your visa. Once I got my visa, then I just booked my flights and I, just prepared, did my shopping, came over. Then I just started living here. My company, most companies help you with initial accommodation, like at least for 1 or 2 months. So, if they don't, then there are companies which are like, like Airbnb or similar companies where you can, even without documents, just like when we go on vacation, we book some place, right? So you can book some place. And then once you are here, that's a challenge. Stay in your temporary place, and then, but it's also, you will find a flat at the end. Like everyone finds it, but everyone goes through the same anxiety for a month, and then you find it and you're fine. And then the next part is like now, which I'm doing now. I'm living here. I have all my papers. So once you come to Germany, you have to get your registration. So similar to like in India, we have municipal corporation, right? So basically the city office, you go and you do your registration. It's called Anmeldung. Yeah. And so I did that. And then when I moved to my long-term apartment after 2 months, like at the beginning of April, so then I did the registration for this place. Once I had this, like I have my long-term flat, I have my registration. Now I have applied for the residence permit. Okay. So now my application is gone. Now my next steps is they will give me an appointment, I think with the immigration office here. And then I have to go to the appointment with my documents. So yeah, and then the residence permit and blue card will come. So when you get your visa, it's for you, blue card, it's like for 6 months. And the idea is you use it to travel here, get settled here, apply for your residence permit. So now that once you apply for your residence permit, the visa pretty much doesn't matter. It's considered auto-extended till your residence permit comes. And anyway, once the residence permit comes, then you don't need visa anymore because you have a residence permit. Yeah. So I'm now at that stage. So for me, it's done. And this is for the EU blue card. So I'm telling the process in detail for the blue card. I'm sure because that's the one that I got. And if you get an employment, then that's the one that anyone will get. Yeah. If you are getting
if you have a university degree and you're working in tech&IT, then you're eligible for the blue card.
Yeah, of course. So if you are a data analyst and you get an employment contract from a German company, that's the one you get. Yeah, and it's a very good point. When I mentioned my process, like about the colleges, so one of the initial steps when I'm preparing my documents, even for the appointment back in India, the first VFS appointment, I had to take my original master's degree. So I did that. So yeah.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Stuti. That was really insightful and very, very nice structured. I think you gave a lot of interesting insights for everybody who's also working in the field of data, like data engineers, data scientists, software developers, data analysts. If you are also thinking about moving to Germany and you have watched this video, the next step is watch our online training video, which is below this video, and then book a get-to-know call with us. We will assess your profile first. If you have good chances of landing a job in Germany, we will move on to a second call. We call that career strategy consultation. There we will discuss your case in more detail. And if it's a good fit, we make you an offer to join our program, and then usually takes 2 to 3 months to get an offer, and then you also move to Germany. Thanks again, Stuti. It was a really insightful interview, and I really enjoyed it. All the best to you. Auf Wiedersehen. Bye-bye.
Auf Wiedersehen.